Hi there, and welcome to Why Headless is the Future of E-commerce. I'm Max Page. I'm going to be talking to you guys for about roughly 15-20 minutes or so. Great to be here at the Pimcore Inspire 2021 event. Shame it's in a virtual environment, but I'm sure we'll see each other in person again soon enough. So let's jump straight in because we've got a lot to cover. I normally find it best when I'm looking at a presentation from someone or I'm researching something to figure out, okay, well, who is this guy? Who's talking? What does he know? Well, let me get into that, okay? So at the end of the day, that's me. Hi. My name is Max. I come from a business background, okay? So I know you guys are mainly all developers. I have some programming background. I've also done, some Pimcore Enterprise and consultancy certificates. But as I said, my main background is in business. So this talk's also going to be a lot more about the strategic point of view of why headless makes sense, especially for e-commerce, but also in general, and why this is the future. Okay, so if we go through this, it's pretty simple. Got some creds behind me from education-wise. I'm sure you can hear from my accent. I'm British, live in Austria, work for an Austrian company, speak German, at least I try to. And I mainly deal with business on a day-to-day. So I deal with sales and trying to talk directly to the companies that use these kind of systems, right? So we, along with you guys, are the people that implement them. I deal with the people that actually use them on a day-to-day basis. So that gives me quite a good understanding as to what are these people looking for? Why is it interesting? And then also from our perspective here at Alpine 11, why we like using headless. I mean, we've gone headless for a while now, and there's some good reasons to that. So let's go straight into that. At the end of the day, let's start off simple. What is headless? Right? I mean, essentially, headless is the separation of the front and the back end by using modern software architecture. Okay, that's the basics. It basically means that, look, if you've got the traditional system of a monolith, right? So top to bottom workflow, everything's connected. That's great. At least it used to be. Headless works a little differently, right? So headless is a way of separating the front end and the back end and communicating differently. So what does that mean? Well, it means that it increases the agility, but also the adaptation of using systems, right? So the traditional communication between the back end and the front end was linear. Everything just flowed through in one go. Whereas the communication now is much more modern, right? In a headless system, communication runs through APIs, interfaces. Awesome, right? We all love working with APIs because it makes everything more flexible. And that's basically what headless is. I mean, it's a structured way of disconnecting the front and the back end and having one standardized way of communicating in between. Okay, so what does this mean? I mean, it means that you can innovate the front end completely independently from the back end. And this has huge potential for people. So let's have a quick look at comparing traditional to headless, because that gives you an even better overview, right? So here on the left, we've got the traditional CMS. So you build one specific back end and front end for a specific application, whether that's web, e-commerce, a POS, an app, whatever it is. You normally have one system that is meant for that. Headless works differently. The way headless works is you aggregate all the data into one central point. Right? And that one central point can then spit out that information wherever you need it to. So you can create a completely separate front end for a web, a separate front end for e-commerce, for an app, for a POS system, for social, for you name it, you can do it, right? All by using the same back-end systems. So you've got one area where you're aggregating all the content, and you're developing specialized front-end systems to talk to that back-end system. Now, this has limitless potential when it comes to being able to talk to the customers exactly where they are. Right? Things have changed over the last couple of years. People used to mainly use the desktop. Then they started using mobile a little bit. Now they're everywhere. Customers want to use an app, then they want to use a POS, then they want to be on the desktop, jump to mobile, then e-commerce, but they want all of it to feel personalized and specific. This is where Headless shines. This is where it's absolutely perfect for these kind of things because it's incredibly versatile, right? Basically, what you're doing is you're creating a true omni-channel, right? Through traditional CMS, it's possible to create omni-channel systems, but it's quite complex to get it right, and the structures become incredibly complex. Whereas with Headless, you can really make sure that you're hitting every single touch point in the correct form, with the correct UI, with the correct UX, because that way you're limitless on how you're dealing with people. And as soon as you can deal with people in a much more specific way, you can optimize. And optimization brings so many benefits. Let's move on to why it's the future, or at least why I think it's the future, right? So, headless e-commerce, great. But what does that mean? What are the real life benefits? Well, I've tried to break it down here into a couple of basic points. There's a lot more, obviously, but these are the main points, at least from my point of view. So on the one hand, you've got improved user experiences. You can create, as I've just mentioned, multiple channels for different outputs, different UIs, and you can literally tailor them to the specific needs. It also means that you can have authors create content in an environment they're friendly and happy with. They create the content, it goes into the back end, and you can then call that content through an API and display it however you want, wherever you want. So this has tremendous benefits when you're wanting to add lots of content from lots of different sources, but you want full control as to how this is shown on the front end, how you're implementing this content. Headless is the way to go for that. It gives you full control over how you want it to look. And it literally means that you can create focused solutions. You know, that's it in a nutshell, basically. So what else is there? This is great, but there's obviously more. Now, once you focus your applications and you get to choose where it's going, that means you get to optimize. When you optimize, that increases performance. Increased performance, better for SEO. Security is an issue. We all know this. You know, it's a modern world. Security is one of the main talk points. Now, what does security have to do with headless e-commerce? Well, think about this for a second. If you have everything in one structure, that also means you've got vulnerability points because you've got the front end accessing way too much information that it doesn't necessarily need to have at that point, right? So depending on what the front end is and what the use case is, they might not need to be able to access specific data, specific security protocols. Right, with headless, you can limit to exactly what you need, where you need it, because the front end only calls the information it needs at that time. And it's actually separate, so it's not through one system. These can be on separate servers, they can be in different countries, they can be through different security protocols. You can add encryption levels to this. It means that you can completely, if wanted or if need be, separate all the different security aspects. And that's a huge benefit going forwards. My personal favorite is the increased time to market. Because you can decouple the back end from the front end, it means that the front end teams and the back end teams can work simultaneously. Now, simultaneous work has multiple benefits. Of course, if they work at the same time, that means that they're not dependent on each other, which means they can work faster. They can also be more creative. You can give, the driving seat to the marketing guys, and they can say, look, we want to spit out a campaign for mobile, for social, for desktop. We want different use cases for different people in different areas with different needs at the end of the day. You know, an e-commerce site doesn't have to be the same for everyone. And with a headless system, you can personalize it so much. So you can literally have the front-end guys be incredibly creative in how they're going to display this information, how they're going to visualize this data without having to worry about what they're going to get from the back end. The front end literally just has to concentrate on, I've got an API, that's where I can call data, done. I don't need to worry about how the data is going to be delivered to me. I don't need to worry about what format it's going to be in, or if I'm going to have to figure out that there's too much stuff there that I don't need, and how do I call the right stuff. It's relatively simple. It's well documented. You've got one API you're calling to. That makes life so much easier. At the back end, they get to create incredibly complex, sophisticated systems without having to talk to the front end on how you're going to do this, how you're going to display it, how you're going to visualize it, because all the back end needs to worry about is that they feed all that data and all that information into a nicely readable API, into a structure that makes sense, into a structure that the front end guys can use. This means they can work simultaneously, and that increases the speed, which means you can just adapt much more simply and much faster to a constant changing environment. You know, we all know that the buying journey is a massive step in how people choose to purchase a product. It literally is that step. Well, through using headless systems, you can hit different levels of that buying journey at different times with different systems, with different front ends, so that you can make this much more adaptable, and you can make sure that people get the right information at the right time. It really does delimit you on what you can do, which data goes to which client, because you're aggregating it in one place and then you're spitting it out wherever you need, however you need. That's perfectly goes into the flexible storefronts, actually, because at the end of the day, that's what that is, right? It means that you can have personalized storefronts. It means that the e-commerce site doesn't have to look the same for absolutely everyone. It can be really personalized, and that makes a massive difference these days. Personalization, I mean, there's a study by Google that said 40% of people would spend more money if e-commerce was personalized. Well, e-commerce gives you the tools. Headless systems give you the tools to do this. If you can personalize these systems, people will spend more money, which in turn means you as a developer or as a company can make more money, because these systems are relatively complex the first couple of times you set them up. This is a huge potential for the future for everyone to be in a win-win situation. So we've gone through most of the points that actually are relevant from a strategic point of view. But I mean, for me, there's just so much more. It basically boils down to this. If you're looking to unlock an organization's own digital agility, enable better scalability, performance, and speed, then headless is the way to go. And yes, I did just read that because I tried memorizing it and I just couldn't keep it in my head. So sorry about that. But it's true. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about unlocking, potential. It's about thinking that step ahead, growing, being able to adapt, being variable, being able to quickly focus on the correct aspects and create those perfect front ends for those use cases. I mean, I could go on about this for hours and hours, but my time's running out a little. It's been great talking to you. It's been lovely to be here on the Pimcore Inspire. I am really hoping to see you all in person next year. More importantly, I'm really interested to see what you guys come up with headless e-commerce. I mean, it's so varied that I can't even imagine half the stuff you guys can come up with. And that's really exciting. I mean, it's one of the great things about our industry is that we can learn from each other and develop new ideas using these really cool modern, systems. I'm really looking forward to some of the other talks today. I hope you guys are too. And I hope you've enjoyed this talk. If anyone has any questions or any issues or something, feel free to quickly shoot me an email, or let me know in the chat, and I'll try and get to what I can get to. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm really looking forward to Pimcore Inspire next year. Nice seeing you, and all the best. Bye.